Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the February 26, 2019 meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court. We're glad you're with us this morning. We'll begin, as we always do, with an invocation, and Pastor Mike Spivey of Zion Baptist Church is here to lead us in prayer. Please stand.
All right, let's pray. Father, we do thank you so much for this day. What a wonderful day it is. As your word says, it's a day that you have made. So thankful for all the many blessings you have given us, life in our lungs. But Father, most of all, we're thankful for Jesus, who died on the cross and rose again on the third day for our sins and for our salvation. Thank you for all of our county officials, our judges, our law enforcement. Father, we pray for your protection over them and for wisdom as they just guide and govern this town. Father, we love you. We thank you. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mike. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Master Southern.
Here.
Master Putman.
Here.
Master McCollum.
Here.
Master Berry.
Here.
And Master Moran's absent.
Gentlemen, you have before you the minutes of the February 12th Fiscal Court meeting, and I appreciate Magistrate Putman leading the charge in my absence that day. Give you a moment of review for any corrections, clarifications, or additions.
Judge, I move to accept.
We have a motion and a second. Any other additions or comments? Please call the roll.
Master Southern.
Aye.
Aye. Master Putman.
Aye.
Master McCollum.
Aye.
Master Berry.
Aye.
You should have in your packets the bids on the Sandy Lee Watkins property for row crop agreement, and I think that these were probably read out loud in the last fiscal court meeting. You see that Overton Farms had the high bid at $223 an acre, an expected annual amount of $44,600 that will be paid for that agreement. As part of the bid spec, we did mention that Mr. Baird, who is with us today, has right of first refusal on this after tending the farmland for the last 4 years. Have you indicated what your intentions are? If you don't mind coming to the mic and
Yeah, I made you a kind of a counter offer. Okay.
can you read it?
Yep. Dear Fiscal Court, I greatly appreciate the opportunity afforded by the Fiscal Court to review the submitted bids for Sandy Watkins Park crop ground. It's, in my professional opinion, based on the previous 4 years of raising crops on those specific acres, that the reclaimed strip mine ground lacks the soil structure, organic matter, and most notably, water holding capacity and subsequent drought tolerance to warrant the risk of paying $223 an acre. As I have observed during my tenure of farming the Sandy Watkins Park crop ground, reclaimed strip mine ground is very drouthy, and the reliance upon timely and adequate rainfall throughout the growing season is critical to produce a corn crop equivalent to the county average. However, I respectfully submit the following counteroffer. Based on analysis of my previous 4 years of yields, financial records, and projected input cost, I'd like to submit my highest and best bid of $180 per planted acre. Rent to be paid in 2 payments due April 1 and December 1 of each year. Please note I have the financial resources and working capital to weather the current agricultural downturn or a catastrophic crop year without risk of non-payment to the fiscal court.
The
He wasn't done.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, all right. I'd also like to ask the fiscal court to consider my previous good faith efforts in working with fiscal court and county in providing equipment, resources for improvements at the park, and for voluntary increasing the crop ground rental payments above the contractual obligation for the previous 2 years. I respectfully request your careful and favorable consideration of my bid. Should you have any questions or comments concerning this matter, please do not hesitate to contact me.
Thank you. Mr. Hubeck, do you have any comment on that? Thank you. Appreciate it.
My only comment, Judge, is in the past that, since we have obtained the property at the park, we've had dealt with now. This is the third farmer that we have dealt with, and Mr. Baird has been very good rentor. So were the McIlvains, and so were the Shouts, and this is what we've progressed through. The court needs to take into consideration and make sure that they understand that this is reclaimed strip mine property, not prime farmland. And on this area that we're speaking of, this is where both the Green Coal Company and CR Coal Company Mining went both bankrupt. And so what is there considered farm area is not even have topsoil on it. It is part of the unconsolidated 20-foot or 40-foot of material down to bedrock in Henderson County. This was brought over onto the property to make up for the deficits of the topsoil that was supposed to be set aside when this was mined by both Green and CR, which was never done, and left the area in a real mess. And Patriot Coal worked out with the Department of Mines and Minerals, with the state of Kentucky and the federal people, MSHA, to get this property reclaimed, finished up, and put back to the best state that it could be at that time. So I just wanted everybody to understand what we're looking at. This is definitely not prime farmland in any way or form. Any questions?
Do you think Mr. Overton knew all that too?
I'm sure they
When
did.
he did?
They were in this area when this property had been mined for years. They're natives to Henderson County, and I'm sure they're well versed in the coal mining process that's went on in the past.
Judge, I'd like to, just a point of clarification. Since this was put out for bids, there were the 5 bids submitted. Mr. Baird does have a right of refusal with regard to those bids. At this point, the fiscal court has not accepted any of those bids. Okay, so as far as him exercising that right of refusal, that hasn't really triggered. It's kind of a 2-step process. You have to accept a bid and then give him a certain number of days to either meet that or forfeit that right to meet the bid. So there are a few different options before the fiscal court right now to accept one of the bids that is before you, or to reject all bids and rebid it out under different terms and conditions.
I want to remind everybody that we put out a very specific bid notice with a very specific agreement tied to that bid notice. We gave everybody involved a chance to submit bids, and we got 5 bids. I don't have any indication that the Overtons do not know what they're doing, are not aware of the potential risk in farming this ground. They made the bid in good faith. There's no doubt that Mr. Baird has been a great steward of that land in the last 4 years, but we are bidding out a new contract. In other cases of bidding out potential work for the county, we do take in consideration past history with companies that bid to make sure that we are getting the best bid in addition to the wealthiest bid, as it were, the least expensive bid in other cases. But in the absence of any kind of track record that would indicate a company would not be trustworthy, we accept the lowest or the highest bid depending on the circumstances, and also the best bid. So I don't know how we can refuse the Overtons the chance to farm this property at the bid the amount that they bid. There are clauses in the contract that spell out what would happen if they default in any way. They're responsible to pay this amount. If they do default, we can bid the property back out again. So I'm not sure, as good a relationship as we've had with Mr. Baird. He does have the chance to match the highest bid, and again, in lieu of any further information that would indicate the Overtons will not do a good job farming this ground, I don't know how we can refuse them.
And Judge, I would recommend, if there is to be a motion that would be accepting any of the bids before the court, that does need to be subject to Mr. Baird's right of refusal.
Right.
And there should be a number of days tied to that to allow him time to either meet or choose not to meet that bid.
Okay.
I don't think this is in our specs, but I like what Mr. Baird said. It's normally if you're doing a cash basis in Henderson County, most of the time you pay half of it up front in April, then you get paid the other half after the crops are done. I don't think that's the case. I like what he said. I wish it was. Are the Overton signing this in an individual capacity, or is it an LLC, or who are we leasing it to?
I believe Overton Farms is probably an LLC, yes.
Is there a commitment, or did we have anything in there that they'll sign we had the same problem with CR Mining, and I'm not saying the Overtons should do this, but with Green Coal Company, when you're dealing with a company, if you don't have the people that own it standing behind it, they're taking everything. The crops will be gone if they don't pay. If they go belly up or go bankrupt or bankrupt the company, then it's gone. So, that's just
the terms that were attached to the bid were identical to the ones that Mr. Baird has had for the last
Right.
several years.
One payment in December.
Which next time that's up with, since there will be no right of first refusal, all of that can be changed around next time it's bid out.
And again, if for whatever reason the Overtons aren't able to meet their commitment, we can rebid it out again.
I move that we accept the Overton Farms bid for $44,600.
We have a motion. We have a second. To move this along, I will second. And I want to give Mr. Baird, say, 7 business days to reconsider this. I absolutely understand your point. And again, we enjoyed doing business with you. You did a good job. We are, I think, legally held to the bid specs that we put out and the agreement that was attached to them. In the absence of believing the Overton Farms folks will not do a good job farming this ground, we really don't have a basis to refuse them, if you can understand that. But 7 business days from today, if you want to let us know whether you can match $223 an acre, please let us know. After the 7 days is up, we'll award the contract. Yeah. We have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Please call the roll.
Master Putman,
Aye.
Master Southern,
Aye.
Master McCollum,
Well, then, since if you don't accept it, there's no sense in us bidding it. I vote aye.
Master Berry.
Again, thank you, and we look forward to hearing from you in the next 7 business days. Thank you. Is there a representative of the Humane Society with us today? Doesn't look like there is, but I will say that I was contacted by the chairman of the board, who said that they have agreed to hire a new executive director. He's been identified. He is a Humane Society veteran who's coming to us from Stuart, Florida. I believe he takes charge on March 1, and he'll be coming to visit us the next fiscal court meeting. That's good news. I hope he does have experience with animal control, because that's our investment in the Humane Society, is their role as animal control officers for us. So we'll be sure to ask him about that. But good news on the Humane Society's effort to find a new executive director. Next on our...
It does look like, too, Judge, the finances are moving in the right direction, too.
Excellent.
Okay, so-
Excellent. Well, They haven't had to pay a couple salaries in a while.
Yeah,
They-
they've been sure a little short.
Yeah,
that's true.
they have had, they have hired a couple animal control officers as well to help replace that folks
Do we
they
need
were
to just
missing.
accept this then? We don't need to.
We usually take it into a record,
Okay.
take it in the record. If you want to move to take it into the record.
I do. Make that motion.
Okay, you have a
A
second to
second.
that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Jailer Brady, anything from the detention center you want to report? Would you mind giving us a quick update on the construction effort on the new building, just what you've heard from the state lately, if you don't mind?
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're actually hoping to move dirt this week. We're approved by the state.
Excellent.
And Mr. Hall, who's the Director of Probation and Parole for the state, said he was going to be in Western Kentucky the latter part of the week, and he was going to stop in at the jail. Met yesterday morning, Tim Skinner, Ron Spencer, Colonel Hendricks, and Snodgrass, my maintenance supervisor. We have our building permit. We're just kind of waiting on everything to dry out a little.
Gotcha. And Mr. Huback, can we give them any assistance in earth moving if we need to?
Judge, we're currently working on that. I spoke to Steve Beasley last Friday after speaking with Mark Bowling Construction here in Henderson County. They came out and did the elevation work. They're currently programming the GPS into their dozer, hoping to start stockpiling the topsoil and grading off to build the parking lot and laydown area on Thursday or Friday of this week. So
Excellent.
That's where we're at right now. Me and Jailer Brady are going to work together on providing some rock materials, crushed concrete for their base down there to get them a good dry spot to work from, and it'll be later utilized, overlaid as their parking lot. So.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Any questions of Jailer Brady on that? Is everybody familiar with this project? Yeah. Terrific. Thank you.
Thanks.
You have in your packets the Sheriff's Department report for this month. You want to review that? Sheriff Brady, anything you want to add to this? Entertain a motion to accept those.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions, comments? Please call the roll.
Master Southern.
Aye.
Master Putman.
Aye.
Master McCollum.
Aye.
Master Berry.
Aye.
Thank you. And now County Clerk Renise Abner with her report, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have the payments to the county for the month of January. We have excess fees in the amount of $74,513.18, with a total remitted to the county for January 2019 at $99,966.12.
Any questions of Renisa?
I move to accept.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Thank you, Renisa.
Thank you.
Please call the roll.
Master Southern.
Aye.
Master Putman.
Aye.
Master McCollum.
Aye.
Master Berry.
Mr. Gold, your report.
Judge, I've got several checks today. The first being a payment for a supplement to an Assistant County Attorney, $458.33. Dental and life insurance, $479.54. Health insurance, $8,737. Aflac, $124.94, bringing today's total to $9,799.81, and the fiscal year total to date to $100,523.73.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions of Mr. Gold? Please call the roll.
Master Southern.
Aye.
Master Putman.
Aye.
Master McCollum. Master Berry.
Aye.
Thank you. Treasurer Brenda Ryder, if you mind coming forward and talking about claims, transfers, and a budget amendment.
Thank you, Brenda.
These are your bank balances after paying claims today. Your day-to-day appropriation line items should be at approximately 66%, and I have no additional claims to add.
You want to review those and offer any questions to Ms. Ryder, if you have any?
A to Z computer, what software do we buy from them?
We bought software that helps control all the systems and monitor all the systems and give Brent Jacobs a heads up when something's going wrong. If you'd like Mr. Jacobs to come in and expand on that.
Do you mind?
It's a program that will basically help us with Windows updates throughout all our computers, gives me better reporting of what's going on with our computers. The Microsoft products, like Windows Update services, hasn't been working too well for us, so talked to Kenny, and he recommended this software, and we're getting it deployed. ConnectWise?
Okay.
Yeah.
Just hadn't heard of it. I just was curious.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Any other questions about claims?
I would just
The
like to-
Finance Committee did meet yesterday.
Yeah, you probably told me yesterday, Brenda, but that, to the Henderson County Air Board, that $11,833, was that just part of the installment of the 130-some thousand we give them?
Yes, that's your
annually?
monthly
That's a monthly
appropriation to the
appropriation.
Air Board.
Thank you.
I'll ask for any other recommendations or observations from the members of the committee.
I'd just like to point out about the, in lieu of tax payments that are going to the school and the other parties. I appreciate the PVA's office and your office for taking care of those and making sure those things didn't get lost. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the claims. Need a
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions? Please call a roll.
Magistrate Southern.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
Magistrate McCollum. Magistrate Berry.
Aye.
We'll point out that in your overall report on the budget, that expenses in the general fund are at, revenue in the general fund is at 83% of projected budget, which is terrific. We're ahead of budget. I believe we should be at something like 68%.
66 approximately.
66%. Overall total expenses for the entire budget, including the jail, are at 53.39%. So kudos to the department heads and the elected officials who are working to help keep us in budget and in line. I think we're doing a good job, and with that, I'll turn it back to you, Ms. Ryder, for transfers.
I have some line item transfers, and this is transferring appropriations within the existing budget. To the judge and judge staff training incentive, $100. To the judge's telephone, landline, and mobile, $2,100, for a total of $2,200, and this is to come from the judge's staff part-time salary line.
So moved.
Oh, we got it. She's going to read through them all. Yeah, more than one.
I guess. From the clerk's training to the clerk's training incentive, $20. From the clerk's temporary salaries line item, $20. To the treasurer and treasurer's staff training incentive, $150, and this is to come from the treasurer's data processing supplies for the same amount of $150. In the road fund, to the recycling equipment repairs and maintenance line, $24,000. To the recycling telephone line, $1,000, for a total of $25,000, and this is to come from the road fuel appropriation line. Also in the road fund, to the road rock materials line item, $100,000, and this is to come from the road contracted construction line item for the same amount. In the jail fund, to the association dues line item, $75, and this is to come from the miscellaneous appropriation line item of the jail for the same amount.
I move to approve the transfers.
Second.
Motion is second. Any other questions? I'll point out that the judge's line item for telephones is over budget because there are several lines in the building that really don't have a home, so they just assign them to my line item. And this typically, we try to get it right every year, but it typically goes over because we still have those phone lines that just get assigned to my line item. So we have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Southern.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
Magistrate McCollum.
Aye.
Magistrate Berry.
Okay, we have a budget amendment, and the good news is it is part of our effort to escrow or defease the oldest of the bonds that helped expand the jail, and I'll let Ms. Ryder expand on that.
This is amending the budget to increase the jail fund from the prior year carryover by $955,000. The corresponding appropriation line item for this is the jail debt service for the same amount.
So we're moving $955,000 from Jailer Brady's reserves, basically, up to the debt service so that we can then escrow it as per the instructions of Compass Group, which presented to us a couple meetings ago. The process of setting up that escrow account and arranging for the purchase of the bonds, purchase of the funds, and everything that has to go with it is underway.
Yes, sir.
So this is a great first step. Any questions about this? So I will have the clerk read the amendment.
An ordinance relating to the annual budget and amendment thereof, whereas the County of Henderson has realized unbudgeted receipts from the Jail Series 2002-2012 bond defeasance, purchasing securities for deposit into an escrow account held by a designated bank such that principal, interest, and associated costs are sufficient to meet payments due until bond payment requirements are satisfied. Be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of County of Henderson, Commonwealth of Kentucky, Section 1, the budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 is amended to increase the receipts of the jail fund by $955,000 to include unbudgeted receipts from account 034901, which is the prior year carryover, by $955,000, and increase the expenditure accounts from the account 03710060, which is the jail debt service by $955,000. The amount of the receipt and expenditure in Section 1 are for governmental purposes.
Do we have a motion?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Southern.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
Magistrate McCollum.
Aye.
Magistrate Berry.
Aye.
And we have a second smaller amendment. Yes.
If it's returned from the state local government's office in time to meet the advertising requirements, and we're really shooting for that. The second budget amendment involves the Economic Development Fund. This is decreasing the budget receipts of $50,000, which is also decreasing the appropriation line of regional EDC Kindle of $50,000. This $50,000 represents originally TVA funds that were budgeted as a receipt and was expected to be as a flow through to the county, but then since has been reorganized and will be received directly by the recipient Kindle, which has been designated by the county.
To explain that a little further, last year the General Assembly passed a law, as you may remember, allocating TVA funds that were being paid to the state to 25 or so counties that are part of the TVA network, any county that had a TVA facility, and I think we have transmission lines in our county. So we were one of the 25 counties named, and instead of sending their in lieu of tax payments to the state, the law designated those funds for the 25 counties, approximately $50,000 each. A couple caveats to that. They had to name an economic development agency where the funds could go. They weren't just going to give them to the counties to do whatever they wanted to with them. And in our case, that's Kindle as our economic development agency. We thought at the time that the money would be flow through, as Ms. Ryder said, that it would come into our budget and be paid out to Kindle. As it turns out, it's not. It goes directly to Kindle. If they ever need the money for anything, they fill out an application. The application comes before the court. We vote yea or nay on that purpose, or then they send the application to DLG, Department of Local Government, and the money is paid directly to them. So this is not a flow-through, so we're amending our budget to reflect that. Any questions about that? And we are appreciative that the state and the legislators who thought to ask the TVA to spread their money to counties that needed for economic development got that passed, and this will help Kindle. So with that...
Judge, not to drag this out, but did they? I knew there was a lot of restrictions on that money when they received it. Did they finally loosen up all the strings on that where they could actually do economic development, do what they need to do with it?
There's really only two restrictions. The money can't be used for salaries, and it cannot be used for consultant fees. Everything else is in play. And talking to DLG, since it was money that was flowing through DLG, they weren't going to be real persnickety arbiters. They just wanted to get the money to the county. So I think you'll see it used for a variety of things other than salaries and consulting fees.
Thank you.
So I'll have Mr. Clerk read
An ordinance relating to the annual budget and amendment thereof, whereas the County of Henderson has not realized budget receipts from TVA funds originally budgeted as a receipt and flow through to the county to the designated recipient, Kindle. Funds will be received directly by Kindle. Be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of County of Henderson, Commonwealth of Kentucky, Section 1, the budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 is amended to decrease the receipts of the Economic Development Fund by $50,000 to include unbudgeted receipts from account 314508, which is TVA Economic Development Funds, by $50,000, and decrease the expenditure account number 315075507, which is regional EDC Kindle, by $50,000. The amount adjusting the receipt and expenditures in Section 1 are for governmental purposes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Excuse me, any other questions on that after the motion and a second? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Southern?
Aye.
Magistrate Putman?
Aye.
Magistrate McCullum? Magistrate Berry?
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Ryder.
Yes, sir. What Magistrate McCullum is asking about, the jail's 2017 kitchen bond, the payment and interest total of approximately $229,000 is due March 1st. This is in the budget as a budgeted appropriation, but since the project is complete and I have received notice from bond counsel that the remaining bond proceeds could be paid towards the principal and interest payments to pay that out. i.e., the first will be the principal and interest payment due March 1st of approximately $29,000. The next interest payment, $229,000, I'm sorry. The next interest payment is due September 1st, which is approximately $29,000, and then again March 1st. And I do have that in writing from the bond counsel.
Do we need to take any action on that?
I don't think so.
The last meeting we discussed it, and I think that should suffice. Okay. And the county attorney has reviewed the document.
And to clarify, in case anybody didn't understand that, we have approximately $300,000 left over from the bond that was created for the kitchen expansion. So basically, we were using that $300,000 to make a couple payments on the bond, to begin to make the first couple payments. And the great news about that is that money that Jailer Brady already had budgeted in to make those payments doesn't have to be used for that purpose now, at least this year. So it's money that she saves. And that's a good thing. And we'll be able to make an interest payment with the leftover after the $229,000 is paid next fall. So again, that's more money that goes back into Jailer Brady's budget for other purposes.
Thank you, Brent.
I just want to be clear, when Brenda said that I'd reviewed the document, I reviewed the document prepared by bond counsel. I do not claim to be a bond
No.
expert or IRS expert. That is a different
Nor do I.
level
That's why
of
we have
law
bond
and a
counsel.
very specialized area of law. But I did review it, and they were very detailed in exactly how and when they said each of those could be expended. So I'm very thankful for that.
And were you able to get from Jailer Brady the certificate of completion that you needed?
I will ask her for it.
Yeah. She may need that, but thank you very much, and that's good news. It came in under budget, so we're able to do this with the payments, and that's terrific.
Thank you.
At this time, before we get into go to the county, I wanted to clarify something with Jailer Brady. We have a letter that you said you might need us to sign, indicating your old policies and procedures are acceptable, so that this will satisfy an audit requirement. Is that right, or a review requirement? I'm going to read this request from Jailer Brady. Let me actually read the letter. Yeah.
Sorry.
Now, again, this is last year, right? Yeah. Last year we signed this letter for Amy for her requirements with the state. Fiscal Court has reviewed the Henderson County Detention Center policies and procedures, and noting no changes have been made were approved by Fiscal Court. She'd like to do the same thing, and as I understand it, if you wouldn't mind coming to the mic and saying for the record, there are no changes in the policies and procedures from last year. Thank you. Sorry.
That's actually the policy and procedure manual we've had, I think, since Magistrate
2005.
McCullum was county attorney. We've been working with corrections and the Jailers Association to update our policy, but they've had some changes in the top at Department of Corrections, so it kind of fell to the wayside, but they're still going through it. And then I spoke with Mr. Gold a day or so ago about something that we need to add into our manual, so we're going to have to amend something in. But that's still our policy and procedure manual.
So the one we're going to be referring to in this letter is the current manual, the one that's been in place. You're working to update, but that may take a while. But for these purposes today, we just want to tell the state that as of now, the policy and procedures manual is the same as it's been. So does anybody have any objection to me signing that
This
letter?
is just the annual approval.
Yeah.
Yes, it's part of the state inspection.
I guess we need a motion to accept those into the
Right.
record.
Right.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll get that done. And
If anybody'd like a copy of the new one, once it's back from the state for your reading pleasure, I'll drop it by.
got it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we'll open it up to go to the county. Anybody who'd like to come speak on any pressing issue they have, you're welcome to come to the microphone. Anybody? Seeing none, we'll go around. Master at Southern.
Floodwaters in my district, they've been up for a long time, and the roads have been under the river, I guess you'd say. So we've got some expenses coming that I guess we don't have any Mother Nature controls. So, but other than that, all's good.
And just for my edification, those are roads that usually flood at certain times. You're right. Are those gravel roads at the end of some of our county roads as they get towards the bottoms?
Yes, we got some gravel roads. We have some blacktop under right now. We got the river's
Really high.
pretty high.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to see a lot of, I guess you call it hydraulicing too, on our blacktop roads. We've got so much water and everything's moving and cracking and breaking. I mean, it's we've been wet.
Yeah. We'll fix those when hopefully the river goes down.
Yeah.
Dry out. Thank you. Master Putman.
Thank you, Judge. First of all, Mr. Kenny Garrett, thank you for all those updates. You do an amazing job, when you're putting all that stuff online, social media. So I know that I appreciate it, and I'm sure the public does too, but good job. Thank you very much. Number two, Magistrate McCullum, the judge, and myself attended a substance abuse program graduation down at the jail last week. Amy, congratulations. I think there was a pilot program and it looked like it was very successful to me. I think he had 16 graduates. He had 30 some odd that was in attendance in the program itself that's still going to get there at some point. But I know I really enjoyed it, kind of eye-opening for me too. So other than that, Judge, everything's good in the fourth.
Thank you. Magistrate McCollum.
I'd just like to thank everybody, and this has really been enjoyable. I enjoy working with everybody, and the way everybody's working together, all the elected officials, and I really think this is going well. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Magistrate Berry.
Along with what Tim said, the flood, I have many miles of roads underwater, and I'm sure Mr. Hubiak's going to be busy when the water goes down. We'll be looking at those roads, but there's a lot. And I also want to thank Kenny for keeping us apprised on the weather and the flooding conditions. I really appreciate that. I got things from him all the time, which is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gold.
Last week I was at the Kentucky County Attorneys Association conference, and one of the speakers was some folks from the Kentucky Injury Prevention Resource Center, is something out of UK, and they were talking to us about trends in drug use, and they had all kinds of really interesting numbers. And obviously, a lot of what I see, kind of building on what Magistrate Putman was saying about the substance abuse treatment programs, a lot of what I see come through the courts are people with drug problems, and it's really kind of changing, and the trends that we're seeing are more and more dangerous, and we're seeing more and more overdoses. And we need to, as a state and as a community, be investing more in treatment, but we also need to be investing more in prevention. And I think you're going to start seeing a lot more in the next weeks and months about an effort that is undergoing right now to bring a Boys and Girls Club to Henderson that's going to have positive influences and times for children after school to be in a safe, secure place. And I think if we can invest in the resiliency of our children, that's our best chance of keeping them from ever trying drugs that first time. Because what we're seeing and all the data that we're showing is that the downside of trying it just one time now and being hooked and going down a really bad path is it's not like you can dabble and stop anymore. So I just encourage everybody as that effort goes forward to think about what you can do to support kids in our community and building stronger and more resilient kids. And I would suggest to you that the creation of a Boys and Girls Club that's going to serve several hundred kids is going to be a really good thing in this community. So just putting that out there.
Steve, on that note, if you don't mind, I don't think there's been anything proven to be more effective than mentoring program, and that's basically what the Boys and Girls Club is as far as juvenile delinquency prevention. And any of us that can help out, I do think you do have now the mechanism to the donations can be made. They're holding
Absolutely.
that for our account. So
Yes.
anybody who wants to do that.
Thank you.
On that note as well, I attended an event in Evansville on Saturday night, and I saw somebody I've known for quite some time, and that's Ron Ryan, who is the executive director of the Evansville Boys and Girls Club, and is widely recognized as one of the very best directors of a Boys and Girls Club in the entire country. And he was very complimentary of the Henderson group that is spearheading this effort. He said that he's been consulted many times by communities that want to start a Boys and Girls Club, and typically the effort is really energized for about 6 months, and then the hard work starts in and it goes to the wayside. And he noticed that in Henderson that's not the case, that y'all are forging ahead, and he wanted me to remind you all that his door is always open, and he especially likes working with people who are serious about this, and he really thinks that you are serious about it. So he was very complimentary. We spent a good 15 minutes, 20 minutes talking about it. So congratulations on that. I'd like to call for a workshop. We're going to set a workshop on March 5th, if the magistrates can quickly consult their calendar. 10 a.m. on March 5. I know it's getting close to planning season, Tim. We're going to use that workshop to plan for the rest of this year. Here's some presentation or two about some ideas that we could incorporate for some things. March 5th at 10 a.m. here in the fiscal courtroom.
We have training those 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Is it-
Sixth, seventh, and eighth, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Hit the
Okay.
wrong button.
Good deal.
So I do that a lot.
Workshop here on March 5th at 10 a.m. We'll have an agenda out soon. Right here in this room. That's right. And it'll be open to the public, of course. But again, make your plan, please, and we will get an agenda out soon. We should be done by lunch. I'll make a promise to be done by lunch. So, and I will again thank Magistrate Putman for leading the court at the last fiscal court meeting. I made a trip to South Africa to spend a little vacation time and also spend some time with our friend Eric Hansen, my friend Eric Hansen, the gentleman who's working to open up an auto parts plant here at the Riverport, and he was very positive. They've had some things happen that kind of twisted the path towards getting that done, but they're back on track, I think. And he invited everybody from Henderson to come visit him in South Africa. So line up. We'll make the arrangements. It's a 16-hour plane ride there and a 16-hour plane ride back. But otherwise, it was terrific. And but again, in our absence, I appreciate Magistrate Putman and everybody
You're welcome,
taking care of
Judge.
business.
I said you're welcome.
Gotcha.
Enjoyed
Gotcha.
it. Can
Okay.
are you done? Can I have 1 second?
Sure.
I forgot one thank you. And I wasn't aware of it till we was down at the jail at the SAP program graduation. I was talking to Joe Duncan. And it was, to my surprise, I brought up the alleys and a lot of it in my district and how bad they are, and that you had already sent a crew out of inmates that picked up, was it 60,000 pounds of garbage to clean up in some of the alleys over there in the 4th. So thank you very much, Amy. Yeah, sometimes you can't even drive. My old truck can't even get down through there where they got that stuff stacked up. So thank you again.
Wow.
Thank you, Judge. I forgot that a moment ago.
Thank you, Jayla Brady. Okay. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor can leave.